Thank you everyone for coming. And thank you guys for being here with me. It's an absolutely pleasure. And well, I'm going to start with a pretty straightforward question. AI is for changing the world, okay? Is reshaping the software industry. So the first question is, how are you experiencing this revolution? How are you facing these new challenges? And maybe Ivan Luis from a software company, how are you facing this new paradigm?
Yeah. So in my case, whenever I meet an investor, the first question that they ask us is like, aren't you dead? Are you going to be dead in the next 6 to 12 months? And my answer is always the same one. It's like, when me as a CEO think about buying software, SaaS software, I'm buying 4 things. Number 1, I'm buying hardware. I do not have to run. I'm buying software. I do not need to develop. I'm buying compliance, so that the risk of any leakage belongs to someone else. And I'm also buying upgrades. So when I'm considering right now about buying a SaaS platform, I think, do I want to internalize any of those functions? So if the answer is yes, then perhaps we can internally deploy something that can substitute a SaaS. But in my case, for example, 90% of the time, that is not the case, because I do not want to take those jobs. I do not want to make sure that no one can break into a server where I've got customer data. Or I do not want to make sure that we need to upgrade the software when you do an open source version. So to me, the key thing is that it's like AI is not killing SaaS. To me, it's killing lazy SaaS. Those software companies that just included a thin layer on top of a database, like a dashboard or an access to it, or just a way to record information. Those companies, they definitely need to change. But all the other ones, I think that we are still safe. What do you think, Luis?
Yeah, I agree on some points. Actually, what is changing is the form and the barrier entries of software, of creating software. So maybe you can clone a Salesforce or a HubSpot or whichever software you wanna clone really fast. But that doesn't mean quality. That doesn't mean distribution. You're cloning software, but not the software business in itself. So that's the challenge there. And basically, you have to find the value to that software, and that's what is changing. So I think if you focus on value, not on building software, that's where your actual mode is, and where actual mode of SaaS companies are. So that's like in a minute there.
Okay, this is the perspective from the company side, but maybe Martin from an investor side. What do you look now when you're looking to invest in software companies, and with the coming of the AI and the agent AI? What do you look on those companies, and how you see this revolution?
Yeah, so I think actually the framework we look at software companies hasn't changed that much. So when we do an investment, and we probably have in our portfolio 30, 40 software companies, we look at kind of 2 metrics. One is the data mode that you have. Obviously, the holy grail is you have proprietary data. That is difficult to achieve. You can often, we have companies that have a bit of a dual offering with like some sensors collecting proprietary data and then kind of training the models on that. But even if you don't have proprietary data, it's very much, do you get the data from the customer? And the customer-owned data, and thus the algorithm that you're building cannot be built by any outside kind of AI company that doesn't have access to the data. And so for that, the more you grow, you kind of build that moat based on the algorithms, based on the proprietary data from the customer. And the other axis we look at is overall workflow integrations and how difficult it is to replace you once you're kind of within the customer. And of course, we're growth stage investors, so a lot of that is also when we invest, it's very much a thesis. So of course, when you invest in a company with like 10, 20 million of revenue, they're not going to have all of that. But what is your vision, and how can you deeper and deeper integrate into the workflows and become basically irreplaceable? And so on these, I think AI is then very much an opportunity, but you also kind of have to be aware. Of course, I think to your point earlier, the barriers of entry have decreased significantly. and the time it takes to develop certain solutions, particularly on the kind of integration workflow and providing more and more features and a platform, has decreased significantly. And I think we're looking more and more at distribution. So what is the distribution position that you have, and how well do you kind of collaborate also with important strategic channel partners and so on? Because ultimately, the market, once it gets flooded, it will kind of boil down to like the 3, 4, 5 leaders. And so it's an exciting time. You can make a lot of speed, but probably you also have to make a lot of speed in order to get to that position that we believe will be defensible also in the long term.
Okay, I'm happy to hear it's a positive message. It's not the end of the software industry. It's only a threat for the lazy SaaS you mentioned. And Ivan and Luis, what would you say is the benefits of AI applied to the software industry? How does it make your products better? And how it helps your innovation and to provide a more added value to your clients?
So look, this is my third startup. And in my first two, and even at the beginning of this one, we had two major problems. Number one was A/B testing. It's like trying to understand what actually works. Doing A/B tests was extremely complex. Yes, you can change the color of a button, but usually the tests that you want to run, they are way more difficult. Right now, you can use AI to create software faster. And with that, you can iterate faster. You can present better alternatives. And also, you can use AI to analyze the data that you're gathering when you're doing those A/B tests, which means that you can get faster to software, to workflows, to interfaces that work best for clients. That's number one for me. Number two is data. You can gather way more data about users because now you have the resources to analyze that. 5 years ago, you needed a data scientist. That, by the way, was not that easy to get or to pay. Right now, you've got a very cheap tool that allows you to ingest massive amounts of data that allow you to get insights from that like lightning fast. And also, there's a third one that, to me, it's mind-blowing, which is personalization. One of the main problems that SaaS companies we had in the past is that we could not tailor our software for everyone in the room. We had to create 1 or 2 different personas, and we had to say, we're going to build for persona A and persona B, right? And that was it. But right now, with the AI, we can gather information about all of you, and we can do stupid things like presenting options in different layers, or presenting it in different colors, or hiding some options and presenting some others, or direct the workflows that you're using so that you are getting to whatever it is that you're achieving faster. That was impossible to do before because you could not build that as fast as you needed and you could not maintain that. That was unsustainable. But right now with AI, you can do that. Just to give you an example, one thing that we are doing at Modelia is that our agents that are talking to our clients, they are capturing in real time what are the requests that our customers are doing. And we are analyzing whether this is a feature or a bug. If it is a feature, we can automatically create a GitHub issue with the requisites that a human can understand, and we can even create the code, call Cloud Code, and call Microsoft Copilot to check the code and prepare it so that a human just needs to click on deploy that. And the same with bugs. So that was something that was not even next to possible before we had AI. So I think that even though it is a threat, I think that for software companies, and especially for SaaS companies, it is a massive boost.
So I would use a really quick analogy here to analyze, to put it in a framework. You can see, for example, hammers or music, and you can see hammers is actually really interesting. It's a 2,000-year tool. So actually, we have never been producing more hammers than right now, and we have a lot of segments in hammers, right? And it doesn't mean because it's easy to actually make a hammer, you're going to do that. And right now, software is the hammer of the new age of AI. So what you want to actually do is you want to concentrate on analyzing these as commodities. And commodities is not as something bad. Actually, the world's biggest companies on the last 20 years have been commodities. So if you actually reframe this into not threats, but how we are playing now in a commodity world where the actual software creation, it's a hammer, or music, you have to see how this behaves. And then you can actually see that threats are opportunities. And distribution, quality assurance, customer service, business value to the other businesses, it's the real important thing you have to focus on. And then kind of the market starts to actually make sense, right now. Because yes, you can deploy things really, really fast. You can create code really fast. Like, I don't know, they said 120%, but I'm not sure. It's like 1,000% more faster. You can deploy things that it takes months in a week or maybe in days. So I would recommend like that. If you actually, the more you thought on that, and you see how this commodity market is now filling up in every segment, you will have a lot of interesting threats, but also opportunities.
Okay, very, very interesting. Another topic I would like to bring up to the table is the revenue model, because I think it's happening a big disruption there. Traditionally, SaaS is based on license use, and there's a Gartner study predicting that by 2030, 40% of the company using SaaS, they will pay not based on license, but shifting toward a use-based, agent-based, or even outcome-based, which is a huge change, right? So maybe Myron, for you, when you invest in a company, now I don't know how you see this change and how does it affect in the way you consider or not to invest in a company. What do you think? What do you think how this is affecting from your perspective?
Yeah, I think with everything, it's opportunity and threat at the same time. I think when we invest, we spend a lot of time understanding the customer value, understanding the customer usage. And I have to admit, like, either companies are cagey and don't want to share it, or they don't. Not all of them measure it a lot, and that sometimes surprises me, because ultimately, if you want to build a lasting big business, it's all about the value that you provide to the customer. And so from that perspective, from the pure value perspective, I quite like it. Of course, the attractiveness in software investing, and particularly when you also think of the credit funds that kind of invested in software funds and so on, the attractiveness that you kind of have recurring revenue, you have very much visibility over the next years, and of the cash flow that are coming in. And that's based on the usage base, because that's based on the seat-based, license-based business model, as you kind of know how many licenses you will sell. If that's changing, then it becomes a bit more, if you will, volatile, the revenues that you generate. I think there's huge opportunity in that. At the same time, I'm actually very curious if ultimately the market, the buyers of the software, will like that. Because if you're a large enterprise and you have a certain budget, you would like to allocate the budget and you would like to know how much it costs you. If then, I mean, we see it right now. I'm asking for like Claude-like increase in tokens probably every month, and my organization doesn't really like it. And so I think it's a bit of a, we're in this moment where there's, a lot of trying, and I think customers are also using the uncertainty in the market to negotiate better deals. But in the long term, I see rather a mix than one of them. The most exciting piece to me around is, and I think you're actually having a similar model, so I would be curious to hear about that, is you're not tapping into the software budget anymore, but you're tapping into the labor kind of outcome budget. So rather than I provide the software to this person, I'm providing this outcome that then achieves X. And with that, you can actually increase your TAM tremendously. And I think having very kind of strong opportunities beyond what you right now can achieve with a software company. So curious to hear
maybe
how
Ivan, you can share your experience, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, so I think subscription is going to be there. That's like normal, because prices have to go low because your barrier entry is going to go high. So actually, we at SalesBlue do not sell the software. We sell sales in a cost per acquisition basis, so meaning sales fee. And we do actual orchestration of all the processes of insurance and banking, in bank assurance. So basically, we sell a lot of insurance with AI and human processes. I think everyone has to go for that. And if you own the workflow and if you're building a new SaaS company or AI company, you have to go for the workflow, produce a lot of proprietary data. And I think that's where the real edge is, because you actually own the result. And I think that the market is going to shift to that and to specific competitive differentiators on every business you can have on software. So that's like the trend I see in there. Yeah.
Okay. the third topic I would like to bring up, which also think is very interesting, is coding. Okay, but coding that is changing completely. A study predicts that we are close to pseudocode in production because it's so easy and so quick nowadays with AI. I got some statistics that said that now 90% of developers use AI tools weekly to code, and they have improved more than 125% to complete tasks that done before. So it's completely changing the way we used to work. I think that brings to perspective, one, for you guys, two, your clients, maybe they are able to produce and develop code and solutions, and maybe they don't need you anymore. And another, internally, I'm sure you got developers in your company. Do you need them anymore? How's that going to change the way you work around that? Maybe, Ivan, you can share your thoughts on that?
Well, in my case, it's all about productivity. So basically what you're doing, you're empowering people to create more with the same thing. In fact, to me, there are two types of engineers. It's like the ones that embrace this new paradigm, and those ones, they will have a better salary in the future because they will be more productive, and those who don't, and those ones, they will be fired. So what I'm seeing right now is that when you split the workforce, you have two types of people. Like those who do not want to embrace AI, it's difficult for them to use it because they think that they code better than the AI, which is absolutely false. And there are those that are more than willing to get the most out of the AI. So what we are seeing when we are hiring is that you can either hire a senior developer that can produce 100 times more because they know exactly what they're looking for, right? They know how to fine-tune the code. They know what to ask to the AI. They know how to PR the code that they are generating. And one person can do what 10 people used to do in the past, 2 years ago. And keep in mind that also the coding models, they are becoming better and better and better every 2-3 months, right? Remember that Cloud Code was launched in December 2025. That is 6 months ago. But on the other hand, you have the young engineers, the ones that are just studying, and those ones, they are curious. They want to get where the seniors are, and they are using all the AI tools that they can use to generate code that it is as good as the one that's being generated by a senior engineer by themselves. So to me, as a company, what's going to happen is that you need to find the right balance of senior engineers that can generate 100x the code that we're generating before, and the junior engineers that can generate as much as a senior engineer was doing, but cheaper. So you need to balance those two things. So in my case, or in our field, what I think is going to happen is that more and more we will have those two pools of people joining the organizations. This is the ones that are generating software as fast and as good as senior people were, and those senior people that can have the big picture. Because to me, the only thing that's missing for AI, well, I think there are two things missing for AI. Number one is creativity. It's like when designing interfaces, even though we have great tools like Stitch or Open Design, right, or Cloud Design that are great, they are not still yet when you have to build complex interfaces. And number two, AI still does not have the full picture of a very complex system, where you need to take into account things like compliance, integrations, all databases, legacy systems, right? That still belongs to the mind of a senior engineer. So to me, I'm a computer scientist myself, and when I look at me 25 years ago, when I was segregated from the university, it's like I feel that we are exactly in the same era as in the 2000s, right? When we had to embrace the internet. It's like applications, web applications. So you could either stay on the legacy systems and die on COBOL and just be employed by a bank, or you can embrace the new paradigms and become the next best rock star in your company.
What are you, Dan?
Yeah, well, I think, for example, coding is one of the first things that actually AI has solved actually really well. So coding in itself, the activity of coding, it's really advanced right now. Vibe coding, if you haven't tested or tried yourself, it's really addictive, and you can actually solve almost any issue on your company if you just start talking to Cloud without just knowing anything about code. You just said, like, give me an interface of a dashboard that it's like A or B, and you will have that, and then you can actually connect it to an Excel or whatever. Or, you don't need Excel anymore as much as you used to. So it's really addictive, and it's really easy. Yes, I agree, quality, assurance, cybersecurity, legal, but the actual problems are being solved. So this is very interesting to everyone that wants to build something or solve a problem within their organizations. And it's definitely going to change however we are working. This is a transformational way of working, the way Excel and Microsoft did it with the accounting papers. Now it's Excel, now it's this new technology. So that's what we are looking at.
Okay. I think we got time for one last question for each of you. And it's simple. Your predictions. How do you see the industry and the market within, 3-4 years? What's your prediction, your forecast from the investor? What do you see and what do you expect?
I think it's a very exciting time. I think, however, you will have way more than before winners and losers. And I think there will be very, very strong winners. I think software companies are in the best position to be the winner and capture the value of AI. But I think it's a bit linked to what we said before. Why is the software industry so attractive? Why have it been able to achieve, from an investor perspective, 40-50% margins, there's no other industry where you can achieve that. And that's because of the scarcity of the talent, the scarcity of talent that can code. And that scarcity is gone. To some extent, right? And I think that scarcity will diminish further, but at the same time, the opportunities are there, and you can really build very exciting businesses on that if you're going in that deep platform workflow integration and data piece. I think if you're a point solution, it will exist, but you won't have the same kind of nice wave that you had over the past 10 years in the software industry.
Ivan, you said this is your third startup, so you got experience. How do you see the future?
So I think that to me, the greatest disruption that we are going to get is when models that can be hosted by the SaaS companies. Right now, most of us, we cannot host our models because we are either using a self-hosted model on the hyperscalers, or it's too expensive for us because we don't have the software or the hardware to run it. But there will be a moment, not far in the near future, where we will be able to access those models, to own them and to run them. When we can do that, the inference cost will just go down dramatically, just like when the cloud allowed SaaS companies to start operating. Before that, it was impossible because it was extremely expensive, but cloud allowed us to create software as a service companies, right? So to me, the biggest change is going to happen 2-3 years from now, when we have these steel models from the big models that operate as good as the current models do right now, so we can embed them into our own systems, and we can take the inference cost and equalize that to the cost of running software, regular software. Right now, we are charging per seat because the cost of serving the next user is almost zero, right? That's why we are charging per seat, and that has no cost for us, and that's why we have good margins in the software industry. The thing is, when that happens with AI, when we can get those models and make them ours, and we can start running them, then we will be able to have a hybrid model, which I think is going to happen. I think that all AI companies will have a per seat, a subscription model in which we will be covering our fixed cost, and then we will have a shared model, whether it is revenue share or a success fee, or per token, or per SKU, or per whatever. So we can have these both hybrid models. So to me, that's what's going to happen.
So quick predictions. Yes, software is going to be very cheap. You will see some kind of new models, cost per hour, subscription really cheap, revenue share, all those innovations on models. And also we have to not forget something. At the end, the technology is advanced, the most we define what is to be human, and networking and doing business and finding what are the cracks in the market and reading other humans that as we've been doing like ever, and we are trying to actually be better at socializing and conversing and having these conversations, that is what is truly going to define whatever is coming. Because software is going to be just there and technology is going to be advancing. So the real moats is going to be people at the end. So, it's funny, the more that advances, the more you have that barrier of connecting to more people. So,
The human intelligence.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think it's been really, really interesting. And
time.
well, a big thanks for everybody.